Alright, time for another DraftScience video presentation. So, the challenger, a challenge has been presented in some form, okay. The JPG Richie guy, who now sort of has outed himself as probably just the cowboy Farley, pretending again to be somebody so he can have a conversation with himself and all of that kind of crap. Real psycho, the kind they put on TV, multi-personality type, and he does it in real life. He manifests all his desires as his little fake internet personalities. Well, anyway, no point in attempting diagnosis of the retards on the internet. So, he says, have you stopped engaging Stephen Bro on kinetic energy? Well, his last two experiments were 1 minute long kind of videos. We saw no details. And so one was his effort to say cornstarch doesn't behave in an inverse manner to clay as an experimental medium. Now, I'm just saying there's literally hundreds of videos on YouTube dramatically showing in dramatic ways how kinetic energy, or energy period, reacts fundamentally different than any expectation when you engage energy with cornstarch. Just a fact, liquid cornstarch, liquefied. It doesn't work as a normal liquid anymore. That's just an absolute fact. And clearly it does exactly what I'm arguing is the more energy you put in, the quicker you put it in, the more likely it is to suspend any ability for the energy to penetrate. It creates a lot of friction immediately. And so in doing that experiment, did Stephen Bro do it the same way he did the other experiments, which, if you remember, he was using big heavy weights dropped off of ladders and things? How come he chose to use a wooden stick this time? Right? The original experiment in the 1700s was lead balls, suspended from not insignificant distances, meters of height. So he didn't do the experiment that way because it didn't work to his advantage. Both objects probably created enough energy to solidify the surface, and neither one penetrated very much. So the results probably weren't to his liking. So that's why he chose the stick. Okay, so this is just engineering. This is just playing games to force an experiment to look the way you want it, to force the outcome to come out the way you want, so you don't use devices. You break the consistency of understanding what the device is able to produce. All right, and it's just so obvious, and clearly that's why there was no information in the video. We didn't get to see much of anything in terms of how he did the experiment. Just absolute garbage. And then he even says something about pulling the stick out. Well, the same thing happens when you pull it out. If you pull it out slow, it comes right out. You pull it out fast, it doesn't come right out because the material, he keeps denying the absolute statement about what the material actually does, which is it solidifies, okay, around an object when it's moved fast. So this is just, so I engaged that, and I made the counter argument, which is, oh, bullshit. The rational counter argument. Bullshit experiment. Just absolute bullshit. So of course you have to do the experiment to the tolerances of the medium. That means you have to create a circumstance like maybe you take a 2 kilogram weight and it's only a ½ centimeter above the surface, and that one will go right through. And then you have the other one, 4 centimeters, for at least 2 centimeters, so 4 times the height, and that one won't. The fact is, it can be engineered to produce the results, and that was my point. So it's a terrible medium for detecting energy because it doesn't do it by some sort of nice, normal, straight line kind of way. And so you can't understand these concepts that, I have to actually explain to you how experiments have to be kind of thought out and carefully done. This is something you find offensive, that I'm saying that experiments have to be carefully done? Oh, amazing. I see he's done some more experiments, right? And I responded to both of them. So the cart thing, again, 1 minute video. This one was just a 1 minute video. And you know, it has a lot of other crap in it. Nothing about how he made the cars go fast, or how he gave them their velocities. Nothing about how he filmed it. He didn't, you know, he says he has to film it in the dark. Why? How far did the cars actually go? You know, did they both end up going the same exact amount of distance? Nothing, absolutely nothing, okay, in terms of providing us any information. And then his generator itself is not a generator meant to collect energy. It's a generator meant to make a little sparky light. That means it has gears in it to force the generator to spin faster so it can light an LED or whatever kind of light bulbs they happen to be. So again, now you have a whole bunch of friction built into the gear work, you know, a whole bunch of tension, resistance. You don't even know if the wheel is spinning. Okay, we don't even know if the wheel continues to spin. It has, you know, this cart has 4 wheels. He's put a generator on one of the wheels, presumably, and we don't even know if the generator's still spinning. Because frankly, if it's going to create a bunch of tension, the wheel might just spin against it. The friction is so high. So we have no idea about any of that. And I explained to you the simple argument. So, I mean, I explained to the audience that energy, you know, when you hit 2 things with different energies, you know, different velocities, this one's a 16 mass and this is an 8 mass, and they both have opposite velocities, 16 and 8, that the first thing they hit, okay, if it's a less mass than they are, a 4 mass, let's say, when the first interaction is going to be that the one going the faster velocity can give the pin the faster velocity, so it can give it 16. So it's 16 times 4 is 64, right? 62, 64. And the other one that's only going 8, okay, can only do 32. Okay, you can only send this pin at the maximum speed is 8. It can't go any faster than 8. Right? So I explain that. You see those differences, right? That this one loses the energy much quicker. This is 64 momentums. This one has a total of whatever it is, 226. I don't come on. I should just do the math ahead of time. Sorry. So this one's losing a greater percentage early. That means there's a curve. Okay, so I could have just shown it as a curve. I mean, you know, I think you're smart enough to know this stuff, and so you're just playing a game that you need me to go over it and over it for you, because you're that ignorant and stupid and you know, way beneath being incapable of having a conversation even about experiments and how they're conducted. But there's in fact going to be a chart, okay, for how the objects will dissipate their energy. And the one object will dissipate its energy a lot here, you know, because it starts off very fast, but it doesn't go very far. You know, the curve stops. The other one starts slow, okay, and gives its energy for a longer period. These volumes, okay, I would argue are going to be the same volume. The curve for the 8-16 and the 16-8, okay, these curves will be inverse curves. They will, you know, be the same curve. You just have to flip it, you know, and it'll be the same volume of energy, okay, in both of these curves. Now, how many ways do I have to explain it to you before you get it that you have to collect the total energy? If you just collect at this point, oh yes, this one wins. Okay, yeah, that one's going to be much higher at this point. Huh? I mean, so I have to teach you this. You're saying before we can engage in this conversation, because you're too ignorant to understand that's the concept, and obviously Stephen Bro experiment didn't overcome the facts of the experiment, the fact that you have to collect the entire volume of energy for your comparison. You can't collect it at moments in time, because at moments in time, yeah, this one will be higher than that one. So play your little game. Okay. Play your little pretend game. All right. And it's just even offensive to put in this engaging Stephen Bro. Engaging him with what? I'm not wasting my time making Stephen Bro mocking videos. Okay, Stephen Bro's just making mocking video. He's not making science videos. He's not making physics videos. He's just making mocking videos. So why would you sit there and say something that's insulting, right, even to start, that somehow I'm engaging some peer or some equal, or, you know, or somebody really motivated by physics and science and understanding, when all he's motivated by is the fact that he has a really small penis and he hasn't gotten over it, even though he's 170 years old. I mean, it's amazingly stupid. Okay. So anyway, so he's done some more experiments. And here you said this in spite of the fact that the videos are right there on my channel in the last 2 weeks. So you're just lying right off the face, right in the beginning here. You're just lying. I responded to the retarded, stinking, lousy, rotten, crappy videos, even though I had no obligation to, because they're so disgusting and rude and obnoxious and full of lies. And here you're saying, why haven't I responded? I responded to both videos, both experiments. Liar. Okay, so he's at least trying to test this stuff. He's not trying to test anything. He's trying to propagandize, as the sticks prove. Why did he use sticks? Do you have any explanation for why he would choose to use sticks? You know, where did he get the idea to use a stick from? Yeah, come on. Are you too stupid? All right, so then he actually links to now mindless marbles. Another liar, a preposterous, insane, lying sack of dirty, smelly shit. You do not mention his name on my channel, okay, in any way like he's a credible human being and expect me to do anything but block you. Okay, so, you know, you're really asking for it. Mindless Marbles is a liar. Okay, a pathetic, even smaller dick than Stephen Bro. Because he doesn't even make videos where he shows his ugly, stinking face. He sits there and outs and doxes other people when he hides in the shadows. He's a fucking disgusting little weaselly coward. Anyway, has this video on kinetic collection. I don't know if you've seen it. What is there to see? So it's another 1-minute video, and this time with just clips of Stephen Bro's 1-minute video. 1-minute science. Such a great idea. Let's do 1-minute experiments. So, yeah, we'll play it, and I'll just point out the obvious that's in there. You know, that's bullshit. Oh, I mean, you people are just so pathetic, so evil. All right, so let's see. He's like such a coward. He can't even put his voice on the video. He's such a coward. Let's check in on what Gary has to say about Stephen Bro's generator on wheels demo. All right, so the first thing, okay, I could say even more. Right, I didn't even talk about the generator, but the generator he's using, okay, is a toy, a kid's toy. It's intended for a specific purpose. It isn't intended to be a little electric motor, you know, a little DC motor, and that you could, you know, attach it to something and use it as a generator. It's not intended for that purpose. So it has a little DC motor, okay, but the DC motor has a bunch of gears attached to it, okay, so they can speed up, so you can do a little bit of movement, you know, a little slow rotation creates a very fast rotation in the motor. All right, so, but this is hugely inefficient, all right, in terms of collecting energy. It's not a very good device for collecting energy because there's a whole bunch of superfluous gear work in there that you really don't need if all you want to do is put the energy into a capacitor, for example, or a battery. All right. Here we have the equivalent of a 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour and a 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour. So, okay, so that's fine to use equivalencies, but obviously this isn't how you would attach generators. Okay, so if I had a big 10-ton train, actually, I wouldn't just drill a hole in the wheel and attach a turbine or something. You know, I'd be a little more clever in how I collected the energy. So here in this 1-minute video, yeah, right. So I don't know why he's playing a still clip with my voice over it. So that's even why couldn't you actually take the video clip? Right. With a generator on the wheel. So he actually does the experiment, but doesn't do it the way you have to do it, which is, and he doesn't show us anything. So again, it's just two pictures in the dark of things flashing by. Now, you can detect the obvious by looking at it. That he's, the two carts, right? One of them's going twice as fast as the other one. All right, but there's no indication of that in the video. So, the two carts, one of them isn't going this fast. They're not in the same. So he's obviously slowed down the tape. So one of them he's slowed down, obviously the fast one. So obviously it stays lit much longer because it's half speed. Oh, I have to explain that to you, that trick. You have to collect the total energy. You can't just collect the instantaneous energy. So he instead of responding to that point, so he played the point, and yet he doesn't respond to it as if it doesn't need a response, as if you don't have to respond to it, as if there's not a simple truth that obviously the faster one dissipates its energy more quickly. That's the consequence of going fast, is you give up your energy very fast. That's what actually happens. So obviously at any moment in time, you'll be giving away different amounts of energy. If you're a 10-ton train, you're giving it away in little chunks. If you're a 5-ton train going twice as fast, you're giving it away in big chunks. Wow. Did we get a response to that? No. Is that good theory? Yes. Does it deserve to be responded to? Apparently not. So let's actually compare brightness over the entire duration of the clips. The clips we don't even get to see. They're not even connected to anything real. We don't know how far the carts went with no light at all being produced, because guess what? They're not going fast enough to produce enough electricity to actually light the specific bulbs arrangement that's in the toy. Okay, so again, you wouldn't be trying to light multiple LEDs, you'd be trying to light just one, right? I mean, all of these things are just facts. Let's just ignore all of the facts and play the same old game. Again, we might as well go back to the 1700s where everybody just engineers experiments to look right. They don't have to be right. They just have to look right. So I'm going to play the Professor Lewin paradox again. Richie guy, why don't you in some way respond? Why don't you explain to me exactly how it's not a paradox? Why don't you explain why nobody's obligated to explain how it's not free energy? If Professor Lewin is correct, if the mathematics is correct, guess what? There is free energy. So he's pretending that this is rather some sort of real comparison. I don't even know what this means. Let's do a side-by-side comparison, or rather a top and bottom comparison. Is that what you've done? So by slowing one of the videos in half, you're doing some kind of legitimate comparison. Top cart has half the velocity, twice the mass relative to the bottom cart. Okay. But these are all facts that weren't established even in any way in Stephen Bro's experiment video. So he did his experiment by showing us almost absolutely nothing. I mean, 1% of the 100% of the experiment. We don't get to see the cart. We don't see the attachment of the generator. We don't see, any tests of how well the generator works. That is, what speed you have to be going for it to light any lights at all. Nothing. Now, is that what people who are trying to tell you the truth do, or is that something somebody trying to hide the truth does? So there, you can obviously see they're at the same location at the same time. So guess what? He's changed the frame rate of the video. The only way they could be in the same place at the same time when one is going twice as fast is that he had to fake the video. He had to put this one gets to be bright twice as long because he's cut the frame rate in half. Ugh. So this isn't even filmed in any rational way, like horizontal to the tangential to the experiment, perpendicular to the experiment. We have absolutely no information about what these things are doing or how they're doing it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, clearly, why does somebody do an experiment that way? Unless they're trying to hide the shenanigans. So, okay, so you can clearly see. So that's the whole point here. You can clearly see. So, you know, this is just the same old dodge, right? Everybody can keep saying that. Piro said, look, you can clearly see that single slits create diffraction, you know, interference pattern. Because all I have to do is put in noise, and I'll get noise out, and I'll have diffraction. It'll be cool. Perfect. You can see it. You'll see it. It looks the same. Is the principle been preserved? Has any kind of scientific, clinical caution and care been observed? No. It's just flat Earth science. I mean, this is truly flat Earth science. I mean, this is the way flat Earthers do their science. They take bad pictures, you know, really bad pictures, and try to say, look, there's Sasquatch. All right, so the bottom half of the cart shines brighter than the top cart. So throughout the entire duration of the clip, which again is the clip, which doesn't mean much because we obviously can see that it wasn't filmed the right way. And again, it wouldn't make any difference if the generator itself only produces light when it has a certain maximum velocity. And as soon as you go below that velocity, you're getting absolutely nothing, even though the generator is still generating electricity. You're just not turning it fast enough to light the bulbs. The simple answer. So obviously this has nothing to do with collecting the entire energy of the objects. It just has to do with people who want to cheat a scientific argument. And that's it. And Richie Guy, you think I have a responsibility to do this more than once, to explain these facts more than once. I have to go over and over just for you. So, nothing happening. Therefore, so he puts it in big letters. Therefore, the total energy output emitted by the bottom card is overall greater. So they certainly didn't prove twice as much, right? You know. So it's supposed to be twice as much energy. They didn't prove that. And yes, they proved what I already pointed out, which is obviously the faster cart is producing more energy more quickly. And the slower cart can't overcome, it might not even be able to overcome the minimum requirements of the velocity you have to spin the motor at to get light out of it. He could actually create a velocity where the one cart produces absolutely no light. And then you could say, look, it's 1,000,000 to 1. Then you could argue that, look at all the kinetic energy. This one has 1,000,000 times more energy than the other one, because the other one produced 0 light, and our cart produced some light. And therefore, it's infinitely more energetic, almost. You can almost make an infinite argument. Okay, so it's all just chicanery. This is all just shenanigans. Okay, and for what purpose? Are they doing it for science? No. They're doing it because they're afraid of me. Okay, they're afraid that I will become a credible character on planet Earth. And therefore my draconian philosophies will be imposed on all. Woo, 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 woo. Yeah, it really is funny. If the duration of the brighter cart lasted for half the time, then Gary would have had a point. So this is how he does logic and science. Sorry, no sale. But the two carts take approximately the same time to shine. So again, we didn't even see how far the two carts went. Nothing. So I think that's the end of the video. I don't know. Blah, 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 blah. So again, filmed horribly, absolutely nothing to be gleaned from that crap as an experiment. So this is what they think science should look like. So the people at LIGO and the people at the Hadron Collider, anybody doing science experiments, this is the way to do it. Okay, don't show anything but what you think verifies your point, and don't show anything else. Just evade the truth wherever you can. And present the audience with bullshit, okay, in the name of science, because you love science so much. pathetic. All right. So we will delete your comment this time and give you one chance, and that's it. You have every appearance of being just a troll now, asshole. You do understand why I would see you as a troll, right? I previously responded to both of Brozo's stupid, idiotic videos. He's not a colleague. He's not a peer. He's a fucking troll. Likewise, Mindless Marvels is a lying sack of shit and a troll. If you wish to engage with them, if you wish to have a conversation with these liars and deceivers, that is your business. I have no obligation to respond to them in anything with anything other than, if they're properly straitjacketed. Okay, I don't have any obligation to go into their diseased house and play with their diseased little sick minds. So if you see them as credible characters trying to do honest things, that's your business. It's certainly not an opinion I have to agree with. I don't think your theory that they're credible people trying to do decent things is a reasonable theory. Okay, so fuck you. Alright. Alright, so let's go. We'll go to the Professor Lewin paradox video one more time. It probably won't be the last time. There hasn't been a single response from anyone explaining it. Not one single explanation at all. I mean, I tried to venture an explanation by saying, well, maybe the spring is going in the same direction as the cart, therefore it's collected energy, but it doesn't change the free energy outcome. So my explanation doesn't work because it doesn't explain why it's not free energy. So we only have two choices here. You either say Professor Lewin did a shitty experiment and got bad numbers, or you say there is free energy. That's it. There's only these two options. If somebody can explain how there's some third option here somewhere, please provide the explanation, because I can't find it. I can't find any way to weasel out of this except Professor Lewin did a sham experiment, or there's free energy. There's no other option. All right. And I'm surprised that it's generating absolutely no interest from any of you turds. So, JP Richie guy, why aren't you interested? It's this obvious, clear, huge, gigantic kind of paradox about a fundamental principle. I mean, it's basically saying, right, that, let's see, what can you compare it to? There are many worlds, or there's no worlds. It's providing two options that just seem too ludicrous. I know there's no worlds because here I am existing in a world, so it can't be no worlds. But it can't be many worlds because that's just too silly. Come on. It just surprised me. So it shouldn't be too hard to find. I should be back shortly. Alright, I'm back. So, yeah, I remember this icon. So it makes it easy. So we should be pretty close to the location.
Experiments? I will use these two. So this is the ratio that you see, 1 to 1.
Okay,
Whether you're building dynamic network models or forecasting real-world behavior, Neo4j's new...
I'll remember Neo4j. Fuck you, Neo.
Give it a certain velocity, which I cannot tell you what that is.
Alright, so he's going to push carts into each other. First he's going to just do the simplest, most basic, most everybody knows Newtonian kind of thing. He's just going to do the one Newtonian cradle thing. Just push a mass. When they have equal mass, the energy just seems to fly right into the second object. That object becomes the first object, and the first object ends up becoming the second object. They just inverse their role in what appears to be no time at all. It takes absolutely no time for... The force doesn't lose any of its momentum. The force is moving, and it just keeps moving right in the new object. So it's as if the force was a ghost. And the ghost, you hit an object, and your ghost, the ghost you have inside of you, you hit a brick wall, let's say, and the ghost inside of you just keeps going right through the wall. That's how seamless it is that they're transferring the energy. So that's the first experiment. So we'll jump ahead. The second one is the paradox, where he hits something with twice the mass, and all of a sudden we create more momentum. We go in with a certain amount of fixed momentum, a certain amount of velocity in a direction, and we come out with more going that way and more going that way, which doesn't make any sense, of course.
number one comes back. No surprise. If you bounce a lighter object off a more massive object, no surprise that it...
If you bounce, he says, right? Well, there's sort of a surprise that it bounces, because you're saying, why can't it get its energy in? But that's the whole point. The big object has to move. All of it has to go through. So you can't lose half your ghost. You know what I mean? The ghost wants to stay intact. So if I hit something and the ghost can't get through the object, you know, as intact, and only its head would go through, then the ghost says, fuck it, I'm not going. So there seems to be a resistance in the energy transferring when the object is so massive that the massive object isn't going to move. It won't be able to collectively get all the atoms to move. And if all the atoms don't move, it kind of says, fuck you, I'm not giving you my energy.
bounces back. So it's minus 1/3. And when we look here, we have 2 times 1 divided.
So the minusing thing doesn't mean anything, it just means a direction. And obviously a smart person knows that if something's going 50 miles an hour that way and something else is going 50 miles an hour that way, that doesn't mean zero energy. That would be really stupid to think that was zero energy.
By 1 plus 2 is 3. That is plus 2/3. So
all right, so the simple argument is the twice massive object, to maintain conservation of momentum, has to go slower than 2/3. It has to go 1/2. It's like me doing the bowling ball thing, and all of a sudden I'm just going to change the rules and say, you know, I'm going to do some bowling ball experiments, and you know, I'm going to take an 8-pound ball, you know, going 16 miles an hour, and I'm going to hit a 16-pound ball, and I'm going to make it go 14 miles an hour. It can't go 14. It's got to, you know, the number has to be the same. This has to be 8. It can't be 4 or 12. Let's make it more realistic. 12. It can't go 12. It has to go 8. It can't go 12. It's too much energy. That means this block of energy, this volume of energy here, turned into this volume of energy here. It can't do that. It can't gain more volume of momentum. So, but he does the experiment and proves that it does. And so the simple argument is this experiment can just be taken logically. Okay, you can just, so all of the free energy people in the world were too stupid to figure this simple way to make a perpetual energy machine. I mean, going all the way back to Leibniz. I mean, Leibniz and those people, they all argued this 300 years ago. So 300 years ago, they knew what perpetual motion was, and they had all kinds of ways to prove they couldn't engineer it. And yet the answer was just sitting here, this simple answer. All you have to do, okay, apparently, all right, is you take a 1 mass object, and then you have we could say just 100 grams, all right, and then you have 200 grams, all right, and you just have to create a frictionless medium. So if you suspend them, okay, from wires, you can make them pretty frictionless. I mean, it's just air resistance pretty much, and you're not going to lose too much of the energy. And the idea is that you put a spring on it, and this makes all the difference because now you make it perfectly elastic, whatever the hell that is. So yeah, and you know, and so what you're going to end up with is you're going to have 100 momentums here, and then you're going to end up, when this one hits this one, this one's going to be going this way with 116 momentums. Okay. It's actually going to be more than 116. It's going to be 16% increase, so whatever that is the trick. It's going to be a 16% increase in the actual momentum. And so if I just hit a 400 here, I'll get another 16%. And then I put an 8 mass, I'll get another 16%. And then all I have to do is have a lever at the end. This object's going to end up being twice as heavy. So after 4 times doing this, I've essentially made an object that has twice as much momentum. So I can just hit it against a lever, all right, with a pivot, and I can end up creating twice the velocity here that I initiated it with. And so I can keep it going forever, and it will also generate, it'll go fast, it'll gain more and more energy. I can make it make energy. So it's not only perpetual motion, because I just reverse it, right? I just did a 100 here, 200, 300, just do the opposite here. Just have another lever system that throws it back this way, and the whole thing will just circularly go forever and ever and ever and ever. And there's absolutely no logic preventing that from being true, because there's a 16% gain in the energy, the momentum. It's a real gain in the momentum going in a direction. It's undeniable. You keep making the more momentum in the direction you're banging the objects in, and all you have to do is change the direction and make it go this way, make it go that way, make it go this way, make it... So explain how it's not perpetual energy. Explain how this machine can't be easily built if this is true. Because all it is weight and spring and energy in. And clearly the energy in this direction increases. Now the fact that it swings back, who cares? I mean, that's easy to nullify. You just nullify that by having it swing back in a direction, okay, that's not the same direction that the thing will go in. But it doesn't really matter, because all you really want is this direction and this direction. And these things can swing back they can be damped, so they'll just stop moving again. So by the time the energy goes through the whole system, by the time it gets back to here again, this will be stopped moving. And so it can just start all over again. There's no reason why this machine can't be built by this stupid paradox. Alright, so we'll just play the outcome one more time, blah blah blah. So he does this the single cart first, which is
each one of
obvious.
those cars has this 10 centimeter metal plate,
which is being used to do the turning it on and off, check the velocity. So it's measuring the velocity. And
so the way we're going to do this,
clearly parts of it are obviously working when they do the two carts, right? I mean, it's obviously working when the two equal carts.
You ready? I hope you know what you're going to see. This one will come to a halt, and this one will go on. They have same mass. There we go. This one is indeed...
Okay, and so this one indeed took a tiny bit more time, which means that obviously it lost a tiny bit of energy. So this really is very frictionless when you think about it. That lost that little, just 2 100ths.
Coming to a halt, and this one took over the speed. What are the numbers? 194 and 196. Only 2 milliseconds difference. That is an incredible result. Yeah.
Okay, so here's the twice as massive one now. And so what you're going to see is the first number is the speed he throws in. The second number is going to be the speed going back. No, this one's the last one's the speed going back. And the middle one, this middle one is going to, so it should be 1/2 the velocity. And it's going to turn out to be 2/3 the velocity, which means there's more momentum.
There we go.
Right. How come this one showed up later, though? That is a little weird, right? That might be a quirk. Yeah, let's just see. So this one goes at twice. Oh, because it's slower, I guess. So it didn't go through the sensors. It took longer to get to the sensor. So it indicates that maybe it was going slower than the number actually it read. But we'll see.
This one goes through here, gives you the time here. This one will come back, gives you the time here.
So that's the trick, right? Because that one going back, that number showed up before this one got through this detector. So that is a little bit interesting. So this two times the weight cart did take a while to get to this detector. Let's see.
Are they zero?
I guess I should grab this clip and then I should put it in really slow motion and see if I can tell how fast this cart's going.
Okay.
So the springs you can see are little metal, tense metal. So little bent pieces of metal are the springs. So it's a very high K spring, very stiff. Very stiff spring, Steve. Steve needs to know that about stiffness being important.
You ready? Yeah. There we go.
Okay, so this number is this going back. So the going back did happen first. You can see it. It's happening first. So, but it doesn't even look like it's gotten through yet. The number's already there, and it doesn't even look like it's gotten through there yet. So that is a little funny. All right, so we got that one's through. So this one's starting to go through now. Did take longer. I mean, just a fact. Okay, and so anyway, so this number obviously isn't twice as much as 123. It's only 2/3 as much. So it kept a whole bunch of extra velocity. And it turns out to be whatever, 16%. It looks like more when you look at it this way, but it's 16% is what the actual gained momentum is. The total momentum when you do the math. But anyway, so it's this there glaringly right in front of you. More energy went this way, and you got some free energy going that way too. Okay, because you added momentum in one direction, and you also got some change back. So that's how bad this is for reality, making sense. So if anybody has any explanation, let's hear it. Let's hear what the people who defend this science have to say. Why isn't it free energy? As a physical fact, why can't I build this device that I pointed out? Why can't I just put a 4K object here? Say if this is a 2K and I just put a 4K here, I just double the mass again, have it hit that cart. Then it'll still do 3/4, and I'll gain even more momentum in that direction. And I'll keep gaining momentum in that direction. Gaining and gaining and gaining. Alright, so that's probably enough. So it's just, like I said, science should be so much better than this. We shouldn't have to argue the credibility of the conducting of experiments. Clearly for hundreds of years, for 200 years, they've been lying about the young math. The young math doesn't predict the double slit pattern. It doesn't predict either the small bars or the envelope pattern. Neither one. It's never worked. It can't work. It's theoretical crap. And yet, you still have to argue it. 200 years later, you still have to argue how that's junk science. So that's how bad it is. They glorify bad experiments, put them on a pedestal, and even though they're obviously crap, they just believe because it looks like and it seems like. But they never measured it. They never checked to see if it actually worked. They just say it does. A car uses 4 times as much gas to go 60 miles an hour as to go 30 miles an hour. They just say it. They don't prove any of this crap. So it's really bad. That's why I hate this planet. It's because it's the planet of bad arguments, bad, nasty people, shit for brain, pieces of fucked-hearted, fanatical, religious kookery. It's just about clubs and gangs. It has nothing to do with the truth and honor and integrity. All of those things mean nothing to these scum. And that really sucks, to be on a planet of fucking bugs. People just keep proving my theory. It's a bug planet, and it's a pretty decisive evidence, right? Frankly, yeah. The fact that they can't compose a reasoned argument on any subject. Okay, so this has been, I have to find the right button to hit, a DraftScience video presentation. Blah, 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 and blah, blah.